This right here is Car Con Carne, presented by Alex Ross Art. Keep up to date with one of the comics industry's greatest creators of all time. Alex Ross has his own YouTube page. It's at the Alex Ross Art. Here's Alex Ross to tell you about it.
Hi, this is Alex Ross. I appreciate you guys supporting our YouTube, and we create new content every week. I hope you will continue to support us, and please subscribe.
Car Con Carne is also sponsored by Easy Automation, easy-automation.net. Transform your living space with cutting-edge home automation. You can have seamless control over the audio, the video, lighting, climate, security, and more. Everything that keeps you safe, everything that keeps you happy. Easy-automation.net. Embrace the future of smart living. It's your home, your rules. Get a quote by visiting easy-automation.net or call Dan. Dan's my guy. You can call him directly. This is his personal phone, 630-730-3728, 630-730-3728. He'll totally help you. He's my guy. He's Dan.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Tom Marker has been playing the blues on Chicago radio since 1975.
You could look at it that way, yeah. I was at WJKL in Elgin for Fox in 1975, and blues was part of what we did there. But then I started doing blues as a regular program, a specialty program, into the 80s, more like 85.
So that would be Blues Breakers
That
on
would be
XRT,
Blues
which
Breakers,
is
yes.
how a lot of us came to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And you hosted that for decades on end. These days, that guy right there, Tom Marker, you can see him. Well, you can see him at local blues shows.
You can.
You can also hear him. He hosts Blues Time with Tom Marker. That happens on Saturdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on WDCB. And you can count on seeing him at a blues benefit for Harlem Avenue Lounge owner Ken Zimmerman. That's at Fitzgerald's on Monday, February 12th. You are the host. This is just a colossal lineup. Toronzo Cannon, Pat Smillie, Miles Minor Band, Rick King, Corey Dennison, Joe Moss, Sharon Lewis, Howard and the White Boys, Giles Corey, Brian Lupo, Studebaker John, Tom Holland. That's a big night.
Well, you know, the Harlem's been around a long time, and all those people and a whole lot more have played there, and everybody wants to be part of this benefit. So,
well, we're recording 20 feet away
Mm-hmm,
from
we are.
Harlem Avenue Lounge.
Yeah.
And this place, this is one of those classic, if you know, you know, places.
That's true. If you don't, you don't. That's for sure.
Tell me, obviously the place has closed. Tell me what made this so special and why it was such a gut punch to everyone when it closed down.
Well, it's really truly a mom and pop operation, except it's really mostly pop. But it started out just being a neighborhood bar whose major business was in the daytime, people coming in and drinking their old styles or whatever. But Ken Zimmerman he was a blues fan, and he had a little space for a stage and started booking some blues a few nights a week, and it took off. And it was just filled a hole because it was so inexpensive to come here that you could come here just whenever you felt like it and not leave too much money behind, and then you'd always see a good band. And you know, it gave so many people their start. There's so many of these people that are on the list for this benefit that might not even have had enough gigs to get by if it weren't for the Harlem. And so they really they feel a debt to Kenny.
This is very much a no frills, no BS Chicago place.
Yeah, there are no frills. There's nothing fancy. Those words do not apply. It's you could say it's a dive bar, and I think it's a dive bar in all the good ways. But
I love dive bars.
A dive bar sometimes makes you think of kind of dirty and nasty bathrooms, and the bathrooms weren't really very opulent, but everything was clean and everything was nice and the sound was good. So, good place.
What was your relationship with Harlem Avenue Lounge, with Ken?
Well, they never they didn't have big enough shows, big enough acts, big enough budgets, big enough sponsorships to really do anything with the radio station, any big sponsored shows or anything. So it was really just very friendly place. And like I said, even though it was inexpensive, there were a lot of bands that they were taking a small paycheck to play here. That's for sure. But they were always good bands. Kenny had a real ear, so you could come by and hear good blues so easily. And, we're kind of a long ways out from downtown here at Harlem and Ogden Avenue, so it's a lot closer to so many people than so many other places are.
So easy to get to.
Yeah.
Again, not to bury the lead, Fitzgerald's, Monday, February 12th. It is a blues benefit for Harlem Avenue Lounge owner Ken Zimmerman. All those artists I named, Tom Marker, appropriately enough, your MC.
Yes.
So I wonder, I feel like everyone says they love the blues. We all love the blues. I feel like we don't know where to find the blues these days, other than WDCB Saturdays 7 to 9 p.m. What is the state of the blues in 2024?
Well, it's not...
Nationally, locally?
I was thinking of saying that some of the artists who played here were under the radar, but really just about all blues is under the radar, except maybe Buddy Guy, and it used to be B.B. King, but I can't really tell you why it happened that way. And Buddy Guy will always ask me, how come radio stations don't play the blues anymore? Well, I don't know. It's not because of anything I did, but... it's in Chicago. It is easy to find the blues if you're looking for it. But most people aren't looking for it. They don't know to look for it. But a great story I had about blues and how people liked it or didn't like it, knew it or didn't know it, was I had a co-worker who went on from the station I worked with with him, and he went on to be a consultant on a new WXRT-like radio station in Washington, D.C. So they did a lot of research, auditorium research they call it, where they'd play snippets of songs for people and say, do you know it, do you not know it, do you like it, do you not like it?
Are you tired of it?
Yeah, and Muddy Waters, he slipped Muddy Waters in. The consultants, the corporates, hadn't put Muddy Waters in this list of things they were playing for people. But when he put Muddy Waters in, he got one of the lowest recognition scores and one of the highest appreciation scores. And to me, that just tells you if people could hear the blues, they like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I talk a lot on this podcast about the value of curation. Back in the day, back when you were on XRT, back when I was on Q101, like, you kind of knew where to find the music you were into. The radio stations were curators. Everyone had that kind of shared experience. They all heard the songs on the radio at the same time. I think the value of curators is kind of lost in our age of algorithmic-driven entertainment. I guess this isn't even a question, but I was hoping you could speak to the value of curators, those passionate people who champion music like the blues.
Well, I think there's a lot of them out there. I think that just like blues, you have to be looking for them. But if you look for them, you'll find them. And one of the most popular places to find them, or one of the most common places, is on public radio stations. And public radio now, if you have a little public radio station, you could have a low-power neighborhood station in Asheville, North Carolina, and you can pick it up here in Berwyn, because everything's available on the internet.
Sure.
So if you look for them, you find an awful lot of people who come to work, come to their radio program carrying a box of CDs and put together their show like that. And they're out there. There's hundreds of them, but it's hard to find, hard to figure out where they all are. So I think there are curated programs, and because of the internet, all of those little public radio stations are available to all of us everywhere all the time.
So what hooked you in? What was that song, that artist, that show that just turned the bulb on for you?
For blues?
Yeah.
Well, it was really, it was a high school experience, really, and it's a typical story where I'm listening to Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, and then you look at who wrote the song, and it's Willie Dixon, and the songs come from Muddy Waters. But it was really a friend of mine who was more really interested in blues when I was just interested in what everybody else was interested in at that age. And at that time, Chess Records was being sold. And so to raise the value of the company, they were selling as many of the records they had repackaged as they possibly could, so then it would look like they had more money coming in. So every one of their artists had like a greatest hits single LP that would come out, and a new one would come out every Friday. And my friend Charlie would go and buy one every Friday, and then we'd go listen to them. And there were all the great chess artists just kept coming out. And to us, they were all brand new, even though they might have been 15 years old or whatever at the time. And that really, really hooked me. But also, back in those hippie days, you could go to a show at the Aragon and there'd be a big rock act, but there'd be a blues act on the bill. There'd be Led Zeppelin, but they'd be, for their opener would be Albert King. So you'd really run into it without trying to in those days. And WXRT, right from its beginning in the early 70s, supported local blues artists and local blues labels, especially Alligator Records and its artists, Hound Dog Taylor and Coco Taylor. And you heard them on the radio like maybe once an hour, once every couple of hours for a very long time. Blues was just part of classic rock. When classic rock wasn't classic rock, it was new. But it all has this blues sound, so it would go together. And it was simply a case of you didn't have to look for it. It found you.
That makes sense. You mentioned the word local. To me, it seems so elementary. We've both spent time in radio, you more time than me, but it seems like the secret for radio to be successful, it's right in front of them. It's keep local. Local artists, local perspectives, local talent. Like the answer's there. The call's coming from inside the house.
Well, yeah, in Chicago, I even mentioned that on the intro to my Blues Time program on WDCB, I say we play a lot of blues from here and there, but mostly from right here. And it's possible in Chicago to just play local blues. All the best artists are from here. And the artists from here, they play a different kind of blues than the artists that people in other parts of the country hear.
Explain that for people who don't have a sense. What makes Chicago blues different?
Well, part of it is the lack of popularity. In days like the 70s or even the 80s or even more recently than that, somebody like Lonnie Brooks, he was a major artist for Alligator Records and a major artist for touring, and somebody that WXRT used to play. He would get his band together in a big van and they'd go off on a 6-week tour, and they'd play at a different town every night. They'd go leave Chicago and they'd play Indianapolis and then Louisville and then Cincinnati, and they'd go down to Florida because it's winter and come back up. And but now there's just no business, there's no place for them to play in those towns. So all the local artists, they seem to play at home, or on maybe they've got a new album on a bigger label like Alligator, and they'll do a tour when the new album comes out. But other than that, they play on the ships, the cruises. There's a lot of blues cruises. That's a big payday for them. They play in Europe. They'll do a European tour, and that's a big payday for them. Or in the summer, there's blues festivals everywhere. So, but they don't get those gigs where they go from town to town to town to town, so they're more insulated. They play with each other, and they play at the same places, and play in front of the same crowds. So the Chicago sound is even more developed now. And somebody who comes from somewhere else doesn't play with all the Chicago players all the time. So they just have a different thing.
I get that. You mentioned some of the Mount Rushmore acts of blues, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Albert King. Who is the next generation? Who are
well, there's always new people coming up. And for somebody like me, an older blues fan, we are always looking for new, young talent that's bringing something new to it. And these days, it's remarkable how many new people there are, artists in their 20s, and they don't need a record label. They're independent, and they record their own stuff in some cases. That's true with some of the artists in Chicago, but it's true with a number of artists outside Chicago. Some of those people are like Stephen Hull, and I wrote down a list so I wouldn't forget certain people, but Stephen Hull is from Racine, Wisconsin, and then there's John Tavia Willis from Georgia, and there's D.K. Harrell from Louisiana, and they're all in their 20s, and they all know each other, and they've kind of got a little thing together, and there's 5 or 6 or 7 of them, and they get a lot of attention, and now they're getting a lot of dates at blues festivals, including the Chicago Blues Festival.
I'm glad you put those names down on a list. We're going to refer to that.
Okay.
That's these are curated tips.
Yeah.
From Tom Marker, the Chicago voice of the blues on radio.
Well, there's local people that are new and young. The Dig 3. They have a harmonica player and
I love a good
mandolin
harmonica player. I love the harp.
Yes, me too. And a great singer, and their songs are so clever and so interesting. And there's Cheryl Youngblood and Demetria Taylor. These are 2 women who for years have played at a club on North Clark Street, Blue Chicago, they've had a policy the entire time they've been open of only having female blues singers. So they have rotating bands with guitar players and other people you've heard of, but the lead singer is always a woman. So it's.
I don't think I knew that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's great. It gives these women exposure, but it's also kind of you could say a ghetto. It's these women don't get a lot of jobs elsewhere, but they get jobs all the time at this place. So talking about an insulated blues society, and Delmark Records with their new owners as of a few years ago, Julia Miller is the woman who heads Delmark Records, and
she was on this podcast last year.
Oh, that's
talking
great.
Talking about the 75th anniversary.
Yes, or 70th was
75th.
this. Yeah. But those 2 women especially have gotten a lot of support from Delmark, and they're just outstanding. They put so much into their shows, it just blows you away how they can have enough energy to do 2 longish sets every night, but they do. And those are people to watch for, even though they're not young and they're not new. But Vanessa Collier is a popular national touring artist. Was based in Berkeley in Boston for a while, where she went to the Berkeley School of Music, and she's a band leader and a singer and a saxophone player. That sure sets her apart. But she's got a lot of big gigs too, and she'll be big on the festival tour this summer. Melody Angel in Chicago, completely independent, does her own writing, her own singing, her own guitar playing. She's fabulous at the guitar. She's got a definite point of view about things, and she makes her own records in her own house, and she's just remarkable. She was at the Blues Fest 1.5 years ago and just shocked the crowd with her athleticism and her singing and then her guitar playing. So there's just so many, and she's young. The list goes on. Kingfish, Christone Kingfish Ingram is probably the biggest name of the young 20-somethings. He stars in festivals, and he's that big all of a sudden already.
This is what I love about Tom Marker. The fact that you are so passionate about this. And back when I was a young boy listening to the radio, I listened to XRT as a kid. the people I heard on the radio were music fans.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact, I mean, you can't fake that stuff. There's an authenticity that comes with the territory there. You are still a fan. You still go to shows.
Oh, yeah.
You're still seeking out the next big thing. That's what being a fan's all about.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
I've been to 3 shows in the last 8 days. Like I said, one was Blues Day Tuesday. One was Buddy Guy. Actually, I saw him 2 nights. So I saw 2 openers. Bobby Rush, not young man, 90 years old.
That's amazing.
Opening up for Buddy, who's 87. And then the 2 of them played together. These 2 guys grown up in Louisiana. And
Did the crowd realize what they were seeing?
oh, yeah. They, especially on the first night, everybody knows what they're going there for on the first night. And Bobby Rush was the biggest star, other than Buddy, on the whole month of Buddy gigs.
I still can't believe how physical and how active Buddy Guy is on stage.
He's slowing down, but he's there and he's doing it. He's doing the same songs. And, a few years ago, well, it was a couple of years ago, Jimmy Johnson passed away. But I talked to him when he was 87, and I said, what's different about the kind of music and the way you play blues now at your age, 87, other than when you were younger? And he said, well, Tom, I don't play through any amp that weighs more than 15 pounds. So it was the same for him.
Simple practicality.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
That's right.
All right. So Fitzgerald's, it's a Monday night, right? The benefit.
Yes.
Monday,
the 12th.
February 12th.
Yes.
It is a blues benefit for Harlem Avenue Lounge owner Ken Zimmerman. Go there because you want to support it. Go there because it's a night of amazing music. I named all the artists. I'll post the list with the copy that goes along with this audio and video. That man right there, Tom Marker, is your MC for the night. And was it just your birthday?
It was just yesterday.
Happy belated.
Thank you very much. It was a real nice night. I had Italian food and Chicago blues. So
That's all you need.
that's right.
It's funny, once you get older, the idea of birthdays is it's kind of, I'm going to have a nice night. That's all you need.
That's right.
It's not like when you're in your 20s, like, hey, this is my birthday week. What are we doing for birthday month?
Yeah. No.
Italian dinner and a blues show sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, we'll see you on the 12th. We can hear you again, Blues Time with Tom Marker, Saturday, 7 to 9 p.m. on WDCB on that side of the dial. And I love reconnecting, and I love that you're hosting this event.
Well, it's good to see you, James. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So, do I still look the same?
You do. I knew who you were when I saw you.
So there you go. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Thank you, James.